It's Jane Wright doing, showing a treatment to drain the bladder, the detox for the bladder. And, well, there's a lot of reasons why at times you might want to do a detox for the bladder. The most common is perhaps having a bladder infection and having metabolites and waste products that have gotten in there, you know, that burning sensation. The bladder, you know, it's just a sac, but you know, it's all set up to drain. And a lot of times, what happens is that people aren't fully emptying their bladder. Why that happens, I don't really know. Sometimes I think it does happen when people hold their bladder and they don't urinate when they feel they have to go. And so I usually spend a tiny little bit going over what one can do to make sure you do empty the bladder more fully. It's very, very easy. You're standing in front of the toilet with the toilet behind you. You go down into the shortstop position with your hands over your knees, and you're kind of supporting yourself on your hands quite a bit. Call that the shortstop position. That can, you know, orient the bladder so that that excess flows out. You know, for those of us who sit already, it's much more convenient to just sit and bend all the way down, bend in half. Bring your hands down toward the floor, and oftentimes, you know, much more urine will come out after that. It's pretty important to do that regularly, because if you build up urine that isn't getting dissipated, that's a good way, a good thing that can be developing an infection, or cystitis, which is a form of infection, really. So how do you, there's a therapeutic center for the bladder. It's depicted by a column that runs from what's called the hilum of the liver. Now, the hilum of the liver is at the nipple line on the edge of the rib cage. So if I follow the nipple, male or female, down to the edge of the rib cage, that's where the hilum is. That's where this column begins. And it goes down to the top of the bladder. I have it depicted here, Tom, on that picture there. And so when we're in the intrauterine period, there's, you know, we have different ways of emptying out. We don't obviously let our urine go out to the world. It goes back into the mixed with our mother, and it's detoxified by her kidneys and our kidneys. But there's a tube that sends things directly out from the liver to the bladder when we're in the intrauterine period. And that actually solidifies to become more like a ligament or a piece of connective tissue. It's like a tube that is hollow that fills in. And it's in the same place as this. So I just find it very interesting. You know, what is this whole tube here is a therapeutic center that has to do with the bladder. For like, you know, like it or not, that's where it is. And so you would, if you were doing the detox, you'd do the detox first. If I wanted to do a detox for the bladder, I would then hold this column somewhere along its path. The safest place is just follow the nipple down to the edge of the rib cage, and then you're in the right position. But that's interesting. So if you have a bladder infection, you definitely want to do that. You can be holding that center and do the compressed etheric treatment. You can do the infection exercise that I gave before, holding that. And just drainage, just getting it to fully drain is very valuable. So that's the bladder detox.